Get ready because I'm about to share the most magical home birth experience that I've had with my third baby, which was unmedicated and unassisted. Hi, guys. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Neha. I'm a mom of three, and I create content on nutrition, wellness, pregnancy, postpartum, motherhood, parenting, lifestyle, and manifestation. So, if any of this interests you, then be sure to subscribe. So, I gave birth to my third baby girl a month ago. I have two older girls, aged 5 and 7, and this was my first home birth experience. The first two births were in the hospital. My first birth was medicated, meaning I did take epidural, and my second one was a little different because when I reached the hospital, I was already 10 centimeters dilated and there was no time for an epidural. I had to push. My second baby was the heaviest as well. She was over 9 pounds. And I've not had the best experience delivering both my kids. And that's why I thought the third time around, I wanted to experience a home birth because I had read so much about it. I had done all my research, I had read blogs, I'd spoken to a lot of moms who had home births, and every single one of them shared the most positive experience. And I was like, because this is going to be my last baby, I want to experience this for once in my lifetime. So before I conceived her, even, I was manifesting this. I was manifesting a home birth. When I conceived, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And for the whole 9 months, I prepared myself in a lot of ways, mentally, emotionally, also physically, of course, because it's all a connection of your mental strength, your physical body. Everything has to be in sync. And of course, one thing about home births is that you have to be low risk in your pregnancy, meaning you should not have any pre-existing conditions during your pregnancy or before that. So if you have gestational diabetes or preeclampsia, or if you have a premature baby or any of those conditions or anything beyond that, then a home birth would not be possible. But if you are clear, if you're low risk, if you have a healthy, smooth pregnancy, then home birth is something I would definitely recommend. If this is something you're considering, then please be sure to watch till the end to know what experience I've had. So I'll tell you more about the midwife experience and why I chose a midwife in another video. This video is all about home birth. So let's start by talking about the day I started feeling my contractions, which was on the 26th of May 2026. I had started feeling a lot of pressure in my pelvic region a few weeks before that. I think when I was around 36 weeks plus, I started feeling that. But I didn't have any signs of labor. It was just like some at random moments I would feel a lot of pelvic pressure, especially when I would work out or walk a lot or do a lot of physical activity, which is pretty normal. I also had experiences with Braxton Hicks contractions, which are basically just fake contractions, for a lack of a better word, that prepare you for the actual contractions and labor and delivery process. So I had never experienced Braxton Hicks in my first two pregnancies, so this one was completely new to me. It kind of feels like period cramps, but a little stronger and a little more intense. So this happened on and off since I turned 36 weeks. On May 26th, I was 39 weeks and 3 days. And in the evening, I started getting, again, the Braxton Hicks kind of contraction. So I thought, okay, maybe this is Braxton Hicks. But at the back of my mind, I was like, this could be the actual labor too, the beginning of actual labor, because I'm like full term, just a few days away from my due date. But I didn't really pay much attention to it. I was like, we'll see what happens. It was not very consistent, not very frequent. I would get the cramping for like 10-15 seconds and then nothing for like an hour or 2 hours. So I was like, we'll see what happens. But I was mentally preparing myself to go into labor that night or maybe the following day. So that evening, I remember I cooked dinner, I fed my kids, I did my normal daily household chores, routine, everything. And then in the evening, when I came to my room, I felt very exhausted. So I was just resting. And I remember I wanted to kind of kickstart labor because I knew I was going to hit 40 weeks soon and I did not want to go past 40 weeks. So I'd heard of red raspberry leaf tea, which I had been consuming since a few weeks prior to that. But that particular day, I made a very strong batch. I had 3 cups of red raspberry leaf tea. And I also mixed some ajwain, which is carom seeds, and a little bit of ginger in it. And I drank those 3 cups within like 2 hours. And I started feeling the contractions progressing after that. So I don't know if that kickstarted it. There's no scientific proof, but this is just what worked for me. The contractions started progressing. The intensity started getting more and more. So I was like, okay, this is it. My husband and I were watching a show. And then around 10 p.m., they started getting more intense and more frequent. Still not like 5 minutes apart. I think we're getting into active labor slowly. So I should rest as much as possible because you never know how much I'll have to stay up. And I wanted to conserve my energy at that point. I took a shower, washed my hair, I blow dried, I shaved, everything. I was prepared. And then I wore my birthing gown and I slept around 10:30. And then I kept on getting the contractions every 30 to 40 minutes apart. And I started timing them on my app on the phone. And I would still sleep. And then every time I would get a contraction, I would wake up and time it just to keep a track of it. This went on the entire night until about 3 a.m., which is when it started getting unbearable. So I woke my husband up. I was like, let's get ready. Please call my midwife because I know I'm getting into active labor. So he called her and she was asking me questions on the phone, like, how far apart are the contractions? And how intense do you feel them? Do you feel the urge to poop? And at that point, my husband was in the washroom. I was talking to her and I could not even talk. Like in between the contractions, I was in so much pain. I was just like, like kind of moaning and kind of trying not to scream. But I told her, look, I cannot talk. It's that bad. So you please leave because this can progress really fast. And she finally believed me and she said, okay, I'll pack up, I'll call for a backup, and I'll be on my way. So I was like, thank God. At that point, I was just sitting on my bed right here at the edge of my bed, and I was just kind of trying to move around, trying to breathe, because breathing really helps kind of manage your pain a little bit better. And when my husband got out, he's like, let's go downstairs, because in the basement we had set up the entire space for my home birth. And I was in my bedroom on the second floor. So I was like, how am I going to walk all the way down to the basement in this condition? And suddenly I felt the urge that I wanted to go to the bathroom. So I told my husband, just wait, I need to go inside. I went in the bathroom, I locked the door, and I just got into the shower. I took off my clothes, I went in the shower, turned the hot water on, and I was kind of laboring for like about 15 to 20 minutes in the bathroom. And he panicked because the door was locked and he didn't know what was going on. And he's like, just open the door, like unlock the door, and then you can stay in the shower because I need to have access to you. And I was like, wait, I was screaming. That lasted about 15 to 20 minutes from my memory. And while I was in the shower, I felt a little better with the hot shower on my back. But every time I had a contraction, I would just squat, or I would be on all my fours and just. I had this urge, my body had this urge to push. I was not actively pushing, but something just made me push, like naturally push for maybe 4 to 5 seconds, and then I would just let go, just surrender. And I think that is what helped the baby kind of move way lower into the birthing canal and closer to the cervix. And in the middle of all that, I saw a few drops of blood on the in the bathtub, and I was like, oh no, I think the baby's trying to push herself out and I don't have much time. I should better hurry up and go down. So I turned the shower off, I wore my birthing gown, I opened the door, and I was still not ready to walk all the way down. I was still leaning on my bathroom sink. My husband was there massaging my back, and he held my hand and he's like, let's go. We'll walk down one step at a time. Don't worry. You're still fine. You have time. We'll make it down. I was like, no, I don't think. Let's just do it here. And he's like, don't worry. I'm here. Everything's great. He was just trying to motivate me, and he was just trying to be more positive about the whole thing. So eventually I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. I cannot be laboring and delivering right here in this room. We don't have anything set up here. And then two steps at a time, I would take two steps, I would pause, I would just ooh. These are the sounds I was making, like taking a deep breath and letting go, and ooh, like literally moving like a cow. And that is what I had learned watching all the videos on home birth and how to prep for it. This is what really helped. A lot of women had watched videos that a lot of midwives and doulas created who help with home births, and this actually helped. Along with that, I was also thinking of all the affirmations that I had practiced for all the months before this day. My body is strong, I can do it, my body was made to birth, my body has supported me throughout my pregnancy, my baby, my body, and the universe, we all are in sync and we're all working towards this like teamwork. I kept on repeating those affirmations in my head, not out loud, and I kept on doing the breathing one step at a time with my husband. My mother-in-law was also there trying to support us at that point. Slowly but surely, we made it down to the basement. And you know what? The best part, which I realized later, was that the whole walk, the hardest walk of my life, by the way, from my bedroom down to the living room, down to the basement, that movement, the up and down movement of the stairs, that really helped push the baby further down the birthing canal. You know they say if you're not dilated enough, you should go for a walk or do curb walking. This is the reason. And because of that, Once I reached the basement, I felt like it's going to happen any minute. The whole setup was ready. My husband and my mother-in-law were just putting some plastic sheets and garbage bags and covering everything with bed sheets and everything. And while all that was happening, I leaned on the couch with my head down and my knees on the floor, and I was again like trying to push and then surrender and release. That is called fetal ejection reflex, which is your body's natural way of pushing the baby out. Fun fact, I've read this, that a lot of women who are in coma during their labor, but their body's not moving, they're not actively pushing, but they're still able to deliver babies because of the fetal ejection reflex that helps the baby push out naturally. And when you follow those cues, when you're not pushing just because someone tells you to push when you're not ready, that is when you have bad tear. That is when you have a traumatic experience. That is when you don't feel good about pushing. That is when you actually experience a lot more pain than what you should feel in a natural home birth setting. So because there was no one telling me or guiding me when to push and how to push, I was doing it just the way my body was guiding me naturally. It was a complete game changer. And while I was in that position, my midwife called. My husband answered the phone, and she just called to check on me. And my husband was talking to her, and I just touched down there just to see what was going on, because I could feel like that intense pressure. And at that point, the pain was gone. It was just so much pressure. I felt like there was a huge rock inside me that was trying to come out, and there was a lot of pressure being put in my pelvis. And that is what they call the ring of fire. So that was what was happening, and I just touched down there to see what was going on, and I could feel the baby's head. I could feel this head, and I was like, I just yelled that I can feel the head, I can feel the head. And my husband was on the phone with the midwife, and midwife heard that, and she's like, oh my gosh, okay, okay, I'm just 5 minutes away, I'll be there soon, don't worry, just be there, just do what you're doing. And I was like, okay. And then my husband hung up, and I just called him right to come next to me, and I was like, just stay here, don't move, because I think something's happening. And then I was just like, I just like sighed, like, I was just kind of exhausted. I let a big breath out, and she literally slipped out in one go, in one push. I didn't even actively push, and she just slid out. And my husband luckily was right next to me, and he put his hand under and he held her head, and he just immediately pulled her out, and the umbilical cord was attached. He put her on his chest, and then he asked me to lay down, and then he put her on my chest, and all this happened in a matter of like 30 seconds literally. And I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, what did we just deliver a baby all by ourselves in one push, which I didn't even actively push? Like, what happened? I thought it's gonna be like midwife would be coming, and then she'd ask me to be in this position and that position, and then I would push and then breathe and stop, and all of that. I was like mentally prepared for that in my head, but none of that happened. And she just came out like, oh, I'm here. And she started crying immediately, so I was a little relieved that okay, she's breathing, she's fine. And my husband and I both were in shock, and he was like, it's okay, just breathe, you delivered her, you're done, this is what you were praying for, this is what you're hoping for. It's here, it's happening, it happened, she's here, she's fine, she's healthy, and you're good, you did it all by yourself. And he was just trying to pump me up, and I was like, I know, I'm really happy, but I'm still in shock, like, what? And then, by the way, she was delivered at 5:55 a.m. on May 27th, 2026. So that timing again was such divine timing. Like, I used to see a lot of these angel numbers for like months and months before I got pregnant, and during my pregnancy as well. And she came right at 5:55. Like, what are the odds? That's why I call this the most magical home birth ever. And in that moment, it was just my husband, me, and this baby that we delivered together. And for those few seconds or those few minutes, it was just the most surreal experience of my life. Like, it was something that I will never forget, no matter what. Although, because everything happened and progressed so fast, I could not get any videos. I could not capture the moment. I had thought of like putting up tripods and setting up phones and everything. Like, none of that could be possible because everything happened so fast. And that was not even on my mind while I was going through everything. But the image, the visuals that I have in my mind, I don't think I can ever erase them. I don't think they would ever fade away. And it was just something I prayed to God. I offered my gratitude. I was just so full of positive emotions. I was so overwhelmed. And just 5 minutes after that, around 6 a.m., is when my midwife arrived. And she came and she's like, hey. And I was like, the baby's here. And she's like, you delivered the baby already? I was like, yes. Just after you called, she came out like a minute after that. And she was in shock too, because she didn't think it would happen so fast. And I was like, I was telling you on the phone. She's like, it's gonna happen. Anyway, so then she called for a backup who came a few minutes later. They checked the baby's vitals, weighed the baby. She was 7 pounds 4 ounces, healthy, lungs were fine, clear, heart rate, blood pressure, everything was normal. They checked me. I was doing good. I had just after that, I delivered the placenta, by the way, which was such a big relief. Like when you push and deliver that placenta, you feel like a so much weight is off your tummy at that point. And by the way, for the first time in my life, after even though I've had three births, I saw my placenta for the first time. And she collected that in a bowl and she showed it to me. It was like the size of a dinner plate with the umbilical cord attached. And I was like, I'm seeing the placenta for the first time, the organ that I grew from scratch that was nourishing and supporting and growing my baby. I'm so grateful to see that actually. Eventually, my husband dug a hole in our backyard and buried it, which was again such a beautiful magical moment for me. Then my midwife checked me. I had a very minor first degree tear, which was just outside, like nothing too deep. So she quickly stitched me up right then and there. And then I was laying down. I was resting for a few minutes with baby on my chest. We did the skin to skin. And then she, after half an hour or so, she told me, like, I need you to get up and go to the washroom and try to pee. And this is one thing I was traumatized from the previous two births, because I could not get up right after I gave birth. My legs were completely sore. My vagina was completely sore because of the traumatic pushing and the forceps and the vacuum, whatever was used. I could not pee. I could feel my bladder was full, but I could not pee. And they had to use a catheter for the first 24 hours while I was in the hospital. But this time around, I got up, I walked to the bathroom. I did not feel much pain. I was like, my legs are fine. I'm walking. I don't feel any pain down there. Like, what's going on? And then I sat on the toilet. I peed without any assistance. And I was like, how? Like, this, I'm so grateful, by the way. I'm not complaining, but I did not even believe this was possible. But because there were no drugs in my body, I delivered in the most natural and in the comfort of my home, which is a very big thing, because labor delivery is all about how your mental health is. How do you feel mentally at that point in a hospital setting? Again, I'm not against hospitals or doctors, please do not get me wrong. But when you reach the hospital too early and when you're in labor, there's like chaos. There are so many people around you. There's nurses, doctors, other patients. There's like those big white lights on your head, too much noise. Your nervous system is not calm at all. And when there's so much going on around you, your body doesn't feel comfortable pushing or going through that process in a smooth way. Like, you're obviously going to resist a lot, and that's what makes it harder in my experience. But this time around, because I was at home, although yes, the situation got a little chaotic, it was painful, not going to lie, but I was at home. There was no one. There was like dim lights, soothing music playing in the background that my husband played. And I was right there. I knew that I'm in the safest place possible. My nervous system was so relaxed because I was in a familiar environment, that the whole pushing thing happened so naturally. And because of that, I did not have much pain post delivery, and also during my recovery, it was very smooth. I could easily sit cross legged while I was feeding my baby, which was impossible the first two times because of all the stitches that I had. And I could easily use the washroom. I could easily like take a shower. I could lay in bed. I could get up. Like, I just felt so, my body just knew how to take care of itself because everything happened in such an organic way. And that is why I'm a big promoter of home births. Of course, not unassisted, because it's always important and safe to have a midwife or a doula with you who's experienced, because things can still go wrong. Shh. Sorry, my baby is waking up now, but I'm almost done with my home birth story. I just want to share that if you're on the fence about whether you want a home birth or not, then I highly encourage you to do your research, talk to a midwife or a doula, and then take a call, because birthing and pregnancy is such a beautiful experience. Of course, it's not easy. I'm not trying to romanticize it. I'm not trying to glorify it. It is hard, it is painful, but you can still have a great experience if you do your research and watch a lot of positive home birth stories that would make you feel more confident, and you're the best judge of your own body, so you can take a call. But I hope this video helps you feel much better and more positive and safer about having a home birth if you're considering one. I hope this helped you, but please know that every birth experience is so unique and different. So just because I've had this experience does not necessarily mean or guarantee that anyone else would have the same experience. But if you're well prepared, then you can have the best experience ever. And most importantly, the best recovery post delivery. Because postpartum, waking up with a newborn every few hours, caring for a newborn, feeding, taking care of yourself is a lot of work. Postpartum is not for the weak. If you're an experienced mom, you already know that. But this kind of home birth made me feel so much more confident in my postpartum experience. I'll be sharing a lot more content about my experience postpartum and also how I prepared myself and how I prepared my home for this home birth experience in my upcoming videos. So if you are interested in any of this kind of content, then be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel and please share this video with a mama to be. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.